My sister. Okay. Story time. Strap in, this is super long and wild. Mom and little sis came for a visit 18 months ago. We hadn't seen each other for at least a decade, so it was a great time. LS got away from partner and her 7 kiddies for the weekend, and Ma had nowhere better to be, so it was perfect. LS and Ma stayed for longer to help me with work, but eventually Ma had to go home. LS decided to stay. She was finally making some money, had a lot of freedom, and she didn't want to go. Work was crazy busy, and we weren't making a lot really, but we pushed through. She stayed with me at my boss's house, and my boss moved out. Well, boss started coming home every weekend, and it was really stressful at the time. She eventually kicked us out. She really didn't like LS. We go out on our own and work for ourselves. So she came up to my second home. I was boarding it while we figured out our next move. After what she told me about her home life, I really didn't want her to go back to where she came from. She had opportunity to sort herself out and work hard, save hard, and move out on her own before starting to take steps to get her kids with her. My housemate got upset that I invited her to stay. We both worked stupid hours and didn't see each other much, but that's no excuse. I guess I started feeling a sense of dread and couldn't face her, so it's my dumb fault for not actually telling her she was sleeping in my son's bed. Full accountability on my part. One should have told her, and she gave me the news that she was getting the house fixed up and I had a month to move. My sister was given the grace of staying the week. In that week, I asked another friend who had a 4-bedder if we could move in. We all agreed 1/3 RDS on all the bills, but he was extra generous with food and gifts. There was another agenda behind that, but that's not part of this story. All was mostly well for a few months. She never cleaned up after herself or the common areas, and started smoking in her bedroom. She never contributed to food, fuel costs. Fuel was expensive. I drove us 150 km every day as we lived an hour out of town where we worked and up to 1.5 hours away, in my diesel ute, takeaways and extras, even toilet paper and tampons. I supplied everything from the day she arrived, and I didn't mind because I earned more than her. Things got quite hard towards the end of last year, but she got a job out of town, so with her not being home things weren't so bad. She started bringing her boyfriend around on her days off. My boyfriend and he were friends too, so things were cool. We all hung out a lot and there wasn't much issues. We worked together. Before her job out of town, I'd pay her cash and to the sound of $60 an hour. Where it's my responsibility to pay the whole amount on tax and all that too. I paid her so good, she had no excuse not to be saving or contributing. When she was out of town, and so was our other housemate, I got a message from him. She hadn't paid rent in months, hadn't even paid any towards the power. I was so shocked and angry. She jeopardized our living situation again. I kept quiet and never told her I knew. All to the tune of $2,000, plus I even offered to pay it on her behalf and just get it back off her so that he wasn't put out. But he didn't want that. She was claiming Centrelink too. She really had no excuse not to be paying her way. The few paychecks she got from working out of town mostly went to paying him and me back for small loans I'd given her on top of the rest, and then she'd cry that she worked so hard and had no money to live on. By this point, my BF and I were buying food for her and her BF every single night they were home. She got sick and she was so bad that I put my foot down and told her not to go back out to work. That she could come back and help me. Then we were kicked out of my friend's house. She's gotten so dirty, and I couldn't keep up with the cleaning, supporting her and her boyfriend, my kids, my multiple jobs. So we're homeless. I applied for ZIP and maxed it out on tents, bedding, and supplies for camping / our new living situation. My BF also spends $1,000 on his afterpay for supplies and lighting and things to keep us going. LS and her BF bought 2 tents, a bit of bedding, and a fire kettle. $2,000 compared to their $100. I get on the phone and start making appointments for housing and care. I drove us there, no point wasting fuel in 2 cars, and making all the arrangements to get us in more secure temporary accommodation. We got a motel room through a community service and stayed there for a few months, and I eventually secured us a permanent rental. She gets her welfare checks cut for not meeting mutual job agreements, and has zero income for 12 weeks, plus. So guess who looked after her then too? Yep, me. I paid the bond and 2 weeks in advance. LS was only asked to pay her half of the following week's rent. My kids slept in the lounge room of this tiny two-bedder, she got a room and I got a room. Her BF moves in. Doesn't pay a cent towards rent, power, or food, they don't even tell me he's moving in. She also does not buy food, consumables. Nada. She pays the power, I pay the Wi-Fi and agreed to pay the balance on the power every month because of my kids and BF who stayed 3/4 nights a week too. He bought food for all, toilet paper and all that stuff as well, even for LS and her BF. Stay tuned for part 2.